Here.
Janine is not here. Russell? Here. Winfield is not here. Kurt?
Here. Is that on?
Carol Schneider? Here. And Harry's not here yet. So let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we have individuals here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So are we starting over?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I'm gonna move.
Okay, no executive session. Harry's not here to give a report.
How's that?
Well, the one in front of you is speaking.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is mine not picking up?
I didn't.
Is it green?
Now it's green. Okay. New business. There's none that I'm aware of. Let's see, developer items, nothing there. Updates and reports. Spring Adopt a Road date and chairperson.
Do we have to decide on the day? I thought we already did.
Did we pick a day for the cleaning? I don't think.
Not for the Adopt a Road.
I think that's me,
I was
right?
gonna say, I don't think
Usually
it's me. I'm
Kathy.
electronics.
I know, I think it's me. The problem is I'm never home. How long does it go?
The beginning of June.
Until the beginning of June. Yeah. The next couple of months are kind of crazy.
Right?
But we want to be careful. Things are growing.
I,
Ticks are out. They are out. They're crazy. Yes,
You already got some?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
What?
collecting trash on the
Ticks.
side of the road.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I didn't do
yeah.
mine yet.
May 24th?
Can you give me a second day just in case, or a second? I'm just, I know there are a couple days that are booked already.
Oh, May 3rd.
May 30th.
No,
That's a good
May's
day.
not gonna work for me. I got soccer.
Do you know?
Yeah, my kid.
No, 24th is Memorial Day weekend, so what about that following weekend is the 31st?
31st is open.
Thanks, Chad.
Until June or the end of June?
No, it's mid-June.
So, per Chad, we're going to go May 31st. I want to see this son of yours.
Okay, so pickup will be on the 30th, and then what time? 7, 8?
What time did we show up last time?
You didn't.
No,
I did.
you're talking about pickup.
Yes. 9.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
And then on, what is it, June
Yes.
2nd, drop off, 9 a.m.?
Sure. Got it.
Okay, I'll put that on the calendar and I'll send that tomorrow.
Note that Laura Ray has joined the meeting.
6:36.
I have to coordinate. You guys want to help pick up trash for the Historical Society? That's a long road.
Oh, I did 412. It took about 5 hours on Saturday in the rain. Okay.
Yes, you did, because it looks really nice.
Thank you.
It really does. We're doing Countryside Lane, and yikes.
What day are you doing that on?
I don't have to go. That meeting's tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, this one doesn't seem to take very long.
No, it doesn't. It takes like an hour.
Doing the same weekend.
I was thinking about it.
If I'm out, I'll come over and I'll help. We can do that.
Countryside Lane's that's a long road.
What's that?
Anyway, Countryside Lane is a
If you want to
long
mention it, I'll go
road.
from ours right to yours and help.
And my
Great.
offer still stands with your section on Lower Saucon.
Thank you.
Are out.
Sketchy. It's
Let me-
sketchy little
let me-
road.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there's the
Anyway.
watershed too has one, right?
Yeah, but it's this weekend.
Oh, it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's very short.
Okay, so we're set for that. Educational ideas for residents. One thing labeled here is the MS4.
So Jennifer had been in contact with Paige Drasco, watershed specialist, and I told her I would check to make sure tonight with the committee, but that she would come to our next meeting and give us an update on the MS4 storm water management.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, I mean, our meetings are open to the residents, and I don't know if that's something we want to, if we could put this on the Facebook page or any other way to communicate that she'll be here to give us an update. Any residents are certainly welcome, and that would be one sort of outreach educational opportunity. The real advantage of that too is that she would be here with the expertise to answer questions, should anybody have them. So if we could publicize that somehow, Carol, I think that would be good.
Yeah, and she'll have like a PowerPoint, I asked 45 minutes to an hour, so,
Okay.
yeah.
I wonder if we should invite, just a suggestion, inviting the zoning people. Just to learn, the
Which-
zoning committee
Oh,
people.
zoning committee, yeah, that might be a good idea
I'm
too.
planning,
And planning, just, invite
Just invite 'em.
them, just to learn.
Yeah,
And not Parks and Recs then.
we could,
You can, but they don't do building, they don't, the planning commission and of course the zoning board, but they have to review, blueprints and, new development, but planning and Parks and Rec don't. But if you also wanna be all-inclusive, is that what you're saying?
Well, just open it up.
Just open it up.
so Carol, you have email addresses for the other committees, if you would forward an invitation to them indicating that Paige Strasco, the watershed specialist from the Northampton County. Say again?
Her last name?
Strasco, Strasko, and her position is watershed specialist from Northampton County Conservation District. Kathy McGovern has given me the Lancaster Farming Nutrient Management newsletter, and it says in here, there's an article that says rain barrel kits are available at extension offices. That's Penn State extension offices. We could publicize that as well, share that information with the township residents. Should I give this to you, Carol? Is that the most effective way to do that?
I'm sorry, what is it for?
Rain
It is for rain
barrels.
barrel kits.
Kits.
So if we can make this information available to our residents, that these rain barrel kits are available at Extension, Penn State Extension.
I can.
Yeah.
I can.
That would
Okay.
be helpful with information, and then I can just.
Okay,
I can do both.
does it have a cost?
I'm sorry?
Cost?
The cost barrel.
I think they're around 60 or 70, I looked it up.
I think,
Yeah, it doesn't list it here.
You have to go on the Penn State site.
I'm sorry?
You have to go on the Penn State
Okay.
co-op site.
Okay, so you'll forward that
I would
information to
absolutely.
Carol?
I'll forward it to the committee and then I'll forward it to you as well.
Where will they be available to
I
purchase?
think they're available now.
Okay.
Caught my eye and I grabbed it. You can keep it if you like.
Oh, okay.
On this topic, from last
mic.
meeting. On this topic from last meeting, we were talking about rain gardens as well. And so I reached out to the Penn State person who was doing the presentation that I took on that, which is here, and I'll pass this around. So this has a bunch of good information if you just want to take a look at that. I also downloaded the assets that were provided with the course. We're probably about 9 different PDFs. And, just, they all have a bunch of different information about best management practices for homeowners, and also talks about some landscape and ecology improvements for yard to meadow, lawn to meadow programs and things like that. So there's a lot of information and images, as I'm trying to show here, that I don't know if we're allowed to use or repurpose, I know that the township has this, which I found on the Facebook page, thank you, and printed this out. There was also this that I found on the website, right? This, I don't know if this is accurate. This is a working with nature to manage stormwater. This was also on the township's website. Google. Google found it. So whether you can get to it from the website or not, it's still on there. It's on. No, I have all the PDFs of the entire full presentation. So there's content in here. There's also links to native plants and other resources, right? So we have all of this information, right? I have a full folder of it at this point. I just don't know what we are, here, I'll pass this around, what we're legally allowed to use. I've reached out to the person there to get a presentation. I haven't heard back yet, so that's in process. But there's a lot of good information. Rain gardens, rain barrels, other water management strategies, reasons and purposes behind it. The lawn to meadow programs make a lot of sense to try to get behind as well. So there's a lot of good resources here and good ideas on how we can manage our watershed more effectively.
So the only thing that I did on there was I updated the link. So the link that was on there wasn't activated anymore. So that one will link whoever clicks on it back to the website.
Oh, good. Now,
Stormwater management, we produce this, so that's perfectly legal to distribute.
But if there's a way to.
Where is it?
Sorry.
Because when you go on the EAC, when you go on to Lower Saucon Township Council Department's EAC.
Yeah. This specifically, this document, I'm not sure.
No, it's not there anymore, I don't think, Drew.
I forget where I clicked on to
Because
get
that's
it.
where I found the endangered species, and I found the, there was something else on there. There's only a couple of things actively on the EAC website.
So this was on the Facebook site. Is
No,
that where-
this was published to, this document was published to Facebook maybe a few days ago, last week?
Last week.
Last week.
Okay.
You said that you wanted to update it, so the only thing I did was update the link. So if you wanna update it, go through it, that's what you said you wanted to do, that's why I included it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were probably fine with it as it is.
I mean, this has good information on it.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there's anything that we can add to that might focus in on more of the rain barrels specifically, rain gardens specifically, lawn to meadow specifically.
I mean, I think just looking at the website, if you go to our documents, it pulls in, and right now, it talks about open space, pest management policy, radon, natural resource, and then 1,000 canker disease. I mean, obviously there's a place where if we want to put some of this information, we should be able to.
If I'm allowed to put this up, I have all of these PDFs that we could provide and we can put them up as links. We could even repurpose, I don't know how we go about doing that, if we wanted to cut out digital assets and create our own little pamphlet, much like we already have here.
That needs to be put, in my opinion, that needs to be put back up, and this should be shared with, back to planning and zoning, and this should be shared with Parks and Rec.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the information's available, it's just not accessible right now.
So I just wanted to show you what I found. I'm still trying to get someone to come talk to us. And, you know, if it's a question of cutting these things up and making it happen with graphics design or document editing, I can put my hands into that without a problem.
One thing we could do with the storm water management thing, Carol, is to just add after item 2, where it says rain barrels can be an effective way to capture, is to simply add a note there that says rain barrels are available through the Penn State extension.
And then I can make the changes, and I can add it to the EAC site tomorrow.
Yep.
But I just wanted to know what changes you want, because.
And then you want the information, I'll send that to you when we get home.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that. That sounds like it's something else.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And then again, if we could share this with these other committees, that would be great. Make sure it's on our EAC website. And that's one way to reach out to residents of the township as well, to make this available to them.
Would there be support here? Do we want to reconsolidate some of this information into other literature, new literature?
I think it makes sense, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, but I guess, do we have to define tonight what that is? Like, do we want to put it together, give it a new title, and put it on the EAC, on the count, on the, or do we want to think about it? Do we want to put out, I don't think we're allowed to put out like a newsletter or something. I don't think we're allowed to do that. I don't know.
Well, we're certain about the stormwater management. That we certainly can add with the adjustment to add the Penn State extension and a link to them for rain barrel availability. Because otherwise we're just saying rain barrels can be effective. We're not giving people any agency to help them with rain barrel acquisition. So by putting the Penn State extension link in there, we're doing that.
Yeah, if we were gonna redo this, I would suggest putting a QR code down here. In addition, a QR code.
Yeah.
For whatever links are on there too, just because it makes it so much easier for somebody if they're on their phone, like when you distribute it on Facebook, that you can open that up and go right to the source as well. So.
Where did you find what yours, was that all Penn State or was
That's
that?
all Penn State except for that's Penn State except for the one document, the two documents that I found from a Lower Saucon Township stormwater management search, or, rain barrels, right? That's just those two files is what I found.
Just curious.
So maybe this has to be expanded a little bit, or it could be.
Didn't quite hear you, Chad, I'm sorry.
Maybe we can expand this a little bit, maybe double-side it, I'm not sure, or 2 pages, I'm not sure. If there's some new information that we might want to add on to here. So I know it was sent out, I think it's great info, but maybe we can update it just a little bit.
So Carol, you have a PDF, I can download this too. Maybe what I can do is send a copy of this to Paige as well and ask her for suggestions for anything we might add to this to be more complete.
But then you have to, and where is it, that's the point. When you do that, where do you want this information to be?
On the EAC page.
Okay, perfect.
I want that's where our resources are supposed to be.
Perfect.
There is an MS4 on our website, under stormwater. It's the whole explanation about MS4. So that's where I would put the document.
Perfect.
And then there's rain barrel information. There are several links on there. I don't know how updated the rest of the information is, but there is stormwater. Okay? Stormwater one is already on there. It's already on there. So.
Where?
On our website, under stormwater, I can't bring it up on my phone.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, that information is there.
You don't have to have only one point of entry to get to the file. We could have the link on the EAC page. It could stay, the resource could be on that page, but we should still cross-reference it. And that helps with SEO.
There's a, slide the thing closer to the microphone part.
Is it up or down?
Well, it's pulled in. This is not working. Okay, never mind.
Have to do something on the back. So I know they're in the process of redoing the website overall for the township. And any minute now, it'll be out there, I hope, soon.
It's lack of people. I
Well,
don't know what to say.
I thought they're really close. They were really close. So I think whenever that happens, we should really look at the EAC page and look to make it more friendly. Yeah, it is buried information. So, yeah, you have to really know the weird path to go down to find things. So maybe we can have a nice page under EAC that's whatever the hot topics that we want to promote.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is there
when that happens, we can work on that.
Was Was there ever a request, I didn't know we were redesigning the whole, I guess, the Saucon Township website, the whole website?
Yeah, the whole
right?
website's.
Was there ever a request for each committee to look at what's currently on there? If there was, I missed it.
Not that I know.
Okay, I'm just curious.
We could do that, yeah.
And say, just take this off,
Well,
and,
I think they're gonna set up with the info that they have, but then, we can
We've
adjust
had
it.
everything migrated over as
Yeah.
of November, but we've been working on it. Just haven't had enough staff.
Right.
And
right,
I mean, honestly, it's.
priorities.
I just, actually, because the meeting was canceled last night for Park and Rec, I just finally had time to, instead of doing minutes right away for the meeting,
Oh, I
was
see.
able to look at Park and Rec and EAC.
I
So
see.
I just.
Okay, I got it.
that. But we have staff. Stacy's been working on everything else. Zoning was asked to do zoning page. She hasn't looked at it yet. So there are things to come, and there is a deadline, and we're trying to
Manage
get
it.
done.
Understood.
But if you want, I mean, you can look at the current site, and you can, come up with what you want on there. That's fine. Everything was migrated over the way it is to the new site, so I just have to modify them.
The last thing I want to have happen though is I send you something, Chad sent you, Kurt, you know what I mean? If we're gonna do that, we should probably agree as a committee
Yeah.
and send
Together.
one
One.
instead of,
A bunch.
But
I
there's
think
really
we
no
should-
point in doing it until the new site's launched at this
Probably.
point. The content's already fixed. We're not gonna go change anything around, and if we do it on the site we have now, it's just gonna get deleted and
yeah,
lost.
all right. So just wait. Okay,
At least, well, that'll give us time to pull some of those together anyways.
Okay, yeah,
agreed.
all right, that sounds like a good plan. That brings us to plastic bag update. Laura, is there an update?
Chad probably has more than me, but, oops. So I think, Chad will have to update us on where he got with business visits. I think the next piece that we should work on is like a promotional piece for public knowledge, to start sharing that information of, why they would want to do this, what the advantages are, how it would work, etc. So the businesses that I had been to or we went to together were, not resistant to the idea at all, and actually pretty favorable.
Oh, nice.
That's good.
I mean, they go with the flow. Did you get a chance, Chad, to go?
Yeah, last
Tomorrow.
month, a week ago, I went to the giant shopping center, Laceville, and walked through all those businesses, talked to all the managers that I could. Giant UPS store, notably Jersey Mike's that's there, has 3,000 locations, and they have already switched over to all paper. Recycled plastic has been eliminated, except for they have no plastic. It's just paper, recyclable bowls as well. So they've taken this as an initiative for themselves. Obviously, New Jersey has banned plastic bags, so maybe that's beneficial for them. But I did. Some of the things that we've talked about, how do we nuance this the right way so it doesn't negatively impact some businesses that are reliant on plastic in some ways, where like the cleaners made a point of that they need these clear garment bags to be able to see everything on the spindle. Like you can't put a fabric bag over the top of the outside of it or anything. So that would be one of these exemptions I think that we should consider. I have phone numbers for Giant, for Wine and Spirits State to talk to. Obviously, they've done it already in other places like Doylestown and New Hope. So I think I'm going to take a lap down into Bucks County and see how they've implemented that. Some people said that the customers wouldn't be happy paying for an additional cost if they charged for paper, which is
The wine and
understandable.
spirits store, they put it in a paper bag.
And then plastic.
And then, you know,
And then
so.
plastic, and that brings up the double bagging thing, which seems like I got this from both the Chinese restaurant there as well as the Italian Pizza. Both of them were expressed concern that they normally sell maybe $100 worth of food, and they don't want it tearing or ripping apart, so they like to double bag. But then I went to Tasty Dish in Hellertown and got takeout from there, and they had a very nice thick paper bag with handles in it that held everything fine anyway. So I think it really just comes down, you can find the right product. It might add some cost, and I don't want to put too much of a burden on some of these people, but maybe you don't need to be wasting 2 bags.
So, just FYI, Sailors does that too. I don't know what it is, but it's a thick paper bag, and man, you can, and it, you know, it's stable. So maybe it's just a little educational piece.
Maybe.
Because dollar stores use an awful lot of plastic.
Yeah.
Right, and we did talk to the Dollar Tree that was on
Yeah.
378, and we have their corporate info as well to talk to. So I've been to about a third of the businesses in the township that are on our list. I'm gonna keep going, another round this month as I can get time. See if there's any other issues.
See if you hear, I mean, I forget what I picked up the other day somewhere, but the plastic bag just like tore immediately, and it wasn't very heavy items. Whatever it was, I was rather astonished. The bag was, you know, so the plastic bags aren't infallible either.
No.
And again, what a lot of them do is double bag them because
Right.
of their deficiencies.
And the world's worst is Lowe's.
Oh, those are terrible. I walk out with my things in hand.
Goes right
Yeah.
through. I always bring a
Especially
paper-
when you buy hardware.
Yeah, it goes right through it. It's like you don't even have a bag.
Oh, did I not get enough
Without fail.
washers? No, it's because
No.
you left a trail of them on the way
Yeah.
back to the parking lot.
The million-dollar question is, what do the robust paper bags with the handles, what are the costs associated with them? That would be
Yeah.
worth knowing and helpful for us to deal with both the vendors and the people. The other thing that I still can't get around is, I think ultimately it's consumer laziness. I bring up Ontario again because plastic bags are illegal, everybody carries their own bags.
Right.
They're perfectly robust, it's perfectly easy to do, you just have to have the resolve to do it. Needless to say, if you buy a case of beer in Canada, you can take those bottles and cans back and get deposits. We don't do that either, and I think, again, we're just lazy, they just do it as a matter of due course.
Yep.
When we were children, there used to be deposits on bottles because some of us made extra money by collecting bottles.
When did PA eliminate that?
It has to be in the early 70s, mid
Yeah,
70s.
no kidding. In New York State, it's been the case for over 50 years.
Yeah.
Aluminum cans
Yeah.
were great. I mean, because you.
Well, that's how we raise money, absolutely. Big fund drive.
Yeah, especially just the tabs.
I talked to Bob Freeman about it actually, because one of those bills came up somewhere along the line, and he said that it's the grocery stores. They don't want the hassle. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to do it.
But it's not a big deal to put a heavy bag in your car and just keep it in the car. And when you go in, you just take it in with you. I don't know why that's such a big issue.
Yeah.
Chad, someone you might go by is Fresh Market. They had,
Fresh Market.
yeah, they had removed plastic and they've gone back. It may be good to get some insight of why they reversed.
Thank you.
One checkout person there, when I asked, told me people complained.
Yeah, but it might be good to hear what management says. You know, that
Yeah.
could be just a cashier, but,
Right.
so.
I mean, management made a decision, so they would have a more comprehensive answer, I'm sure.
So they went back to plastic.
Yep.
I carried bags in there and I was shocked to see that they had plastic. I thought it was a double take that they had plastic bags available again. So.
Wow.
But I think what we have to do, one thing that is clear, and Laura Ray makes a very important point, that is communicating with people is gonna be crucial to this having any kind of success. And a well thought out plan that can address some of these issues of cost. And people have an option, buy a paper bag at the store, at the checkout, or start to carry your own bags in with you. There you have two options.
But for the businesses that are takeout, that seems like that's where that's a little bit fuzzy. It's one thing, like we said last month, when you walk into a grocery store, you have those bags in your car, but if you have somebody who's delivering food to you,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Uber Eats or something like one of those other services, the food delivery services, that to have that, they want this double bag, because in their head, that's the most sturdy, stable way, at least expensive way of doing it.
Right.
So,
A takeout, I was away for the weekend, and I know that my wife had Chinese takeout on Friday night. It came in a paper bag with handles, and the paper bag was pretty sturdy.
oh, they exist,
So,
for sure.
yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not sure if she bought it in Hellertown, or if she bought something on her way home from work in Easton area or Bethlehem Township. I'll find out, just out of curiosity. Okay, well, thanks for your work on all of this, Chad. It's a lot of time, and thank you for doing this.
Do you need any help? Do you need any,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna come around with me, we can, you know, but
Just asking, that's fine, okay. Keep plugging
I
along.
just tried to schedule it in when I could. You know, I had a little bit of time one afternoon, so I went out. And I think there was 50 or 60 businesses on the list, and we've had about 20, so about 30 of them, so 30%.
We should cross-reference that list with the outreach for the library for the book sale, see if there are businesses that maybe stop by for that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we can kill two birds with one stone.
When you got a list of 50, that was for Lower Saucon Township?
About 59, 60.
So there was a lot of them though that are kind of odds and end kind of business. I don't know,
Like
probably never went back to it and
insurance
eliminated the ones that really aren't, the ones that would have bags.
Right,
Anyway, you know, like the
Right.
auto repair
or-
store.
Right.
Or, I mean, not an auto parts store, but like a
The
auto body
yeah,
shop.
yeah.
Or, yeah, so there's really not tons more to talk to that would be bag businesses.
The only thing that's why I was, because you said you did like the 378, and
Yeah.
now you did 412.
Yeah,
The only thing
Well,
that's
there's
really
another thing
left.
down at the bottom of 378, that little
Oh, that
strip.
little
The other
strip
one.
mall,
Little
and
strip.
then
There's
like
a
where
few.
the bagel basket is, or whatever that's called.
True.
Yeah, there's a couple
Couple
there.
in there, not much.
Yeah, we don't have much concentrated business areas.
Right.
Well, it's gonna, if it's gonna be a financial burden for some of these businesses, the larger ones seem like they can absorb this somehow, like they're ready for it. They'll just adopt whatever the protocol is. If it's the small little mom and pop spaces that I'm concerned for, that at the end of the day, if it costs them $1,000 to buy bags versus $500, where are they gonna get that $500 from? They're gonna turn around and put it on top of their costs, and then somebody else goes to another vendor restaurant that doesn't,
Cheaper, yep.
you know, in a different township or something, like, you have that as a concern too. So, we have to balance this some way, and then obviously there has to be some exemptions, I think, for the specialty use, written into this, but allowance for charging a fee of 5 or 10 cents to offset what their loss would be, I think is really important as well.
And
So-
actually, another, like the real purpose for some of them for the fee for the bag is to get people to say, oh, well, I'm not gonna pay 50 cents for my bags, it's worth my while to carry mine in. You know, to get the habit going. I mean, some people, if they don't care, they'll just buy the bags, but.
Right.
Something that at the outset seems simple gets complicated fast.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
Okay, thank you. Brings us to the electronic recycling event. We have a flyer in our packet. So that basically gets that ball rolling. Now, will that be distributed with the next newsletter, township newsletter that goes out?
You can incorporate it in there.
Yeah, I think we should. That goes out when, I know one just, after our last meeting, you mentioned it, and it was in my mail the next day.
Probably not to the end of June.
Okay.
We're discussing today.
But that's kind of good.
It's-
End of June is good timing. Too soon's too soon.
It'll be one that's not published.
Okay.
It'll just be on the website.
Okay,
We won't have a live version going out to residents
And what, I thought at the last meeting, help me with this, did, was the township going to make paper copies available for people who requested it to have it mailed? Okay,
You have to call in or email the
Okay.
receptionist and then get put on the list.
okay. Okay, and then Lehigh Valley EAC, Chad, you've been working with people there.
Yes, I sent out a doodle poll and we are having a meeting online for half a dozen of us who can attend next week.
That's
On
Monday night, is that
Monday,
correct? Yeah,
Yeah, the 14th.
okay.
So we'll try to continue the conversation there and keep it moving forward. I don't have anything else to report on that.
That's a nice response, though.
Yeah, I think Allentown, Bethlehem.
Now, is it just you, or did you invite other people, like us?
If you'd like, I sent the invitation.
I didn't get the doodle. I'm not invited.
I sent the invitation out to everyone who was in the email thread as part of that
Oh, I didn't get
that's
it.
been that's Lehigh Valley collaboration email that's been in there. I think Drew is on.
Yeah, I received it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I'm not. You weren't part of the.
I was. I attended that meeting.
You got cut off of it. I apologize. I will send out to the EAC the meeting invitation if you can attend it next week. That's what worked.
I cannot, but
for
I
everyone.
also did not, just so you know, I didn't receive the invitation. I was unaware.
That was, it's a Zoom meeting though,
Yeah,
correct?
Teams meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtual meeting. I apologize. I didn't realize that you weren't on this thread where we've been having all of these other conversations. You would have been seeing what's going on behind the scenes anyways. So.
Thank you for adding me. I think I can attend. What time?
7 p.m. I'll send you a link.
Is this also a good
Does
time to
Jennifer
bring
and
up?
Kathy who want to be on this? Anybody else here want to be included?
I cannot attend, but I do want to be on the thread, please, and thank you.
Yeah, just send it to everybody, I
Yeah,
guess.
everybody, because
You want me to put it to blast it to the
Yeah,
EAC as well?
Yeah.
You can.
yep, to everybody.
Okay.
And is this a good time to bring up the social?
Right.
So it's Lehigh Valley EAC Network Summer Social and Round Table Discussion on June 11th from 6:30 to 8. And Carol sent it out.
Yes, I remember the email we got on
I
that
didn't
one.
get that either.
Well, that's Carol's fault. No.
I had nothing to do with that one.
Dissed.
Yeah, I
Is
didn't
that team space as well?
No, it's in person.
Oh, yeah, that's an.
That's a
And-
great idea.
Huh?
yeah, I didn't get that
Maybe
either.
she was on
either?
vacation when
No.
she didn't get her.
When did you send this out?
It went out to all of you.
Yes,
Yes.
it did.
When
About
did
a
you
week
send
ago.
this out?
3 weeks
Ish.
ago,
I'll have to go back on my email.
maybe.
Like 3 weeks ago, is that what you said? Huh.
I thought it was just a week or so, but.
Let me take a picture.
What time is that, 6:30?
Yes,
Yeah.
6:30 to 8. I'm gonna take a picture and I'll pass it along, because I would like to go to that as well. You want Chad? Bert?
Save the date, March 18th. We got the email on March 18th.
Look.
June 11th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And Lynn Rothman here will be on this meeting that we're having on Monday next week. So, get to talk to her about this. Bethlehem City EAC, the chair.
Yeah, I'll take a quick picture of that too.
I saw the email, but I didn't see too many emails.
I believe you, Carol.
June 11th.
Orange.
Thank you for doing that.
318.
Okay, there we go.
Got the address?
I did, thank you.
Is that when you were having issues with your,
Here we go.
it didn't come back then. I notified you when your emails were coming back.
Are you Russ for the next topic?
That's good event for the Lehigh Valley EAC.
EAC,
That's a good, for this, talk
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, I'm gonna talk about that,
So.
because I attended, because Alan couldn't, and I also wanted to be a part of it, so I asked him if I could join as well, so we'd have two representatives. And actually, it was very informal and very educational. They had different sectors, each had, it was like a round table. One was industrial, which was unique processes of factories and energy uses, and general manufacturing, cement production, food and beverage processing. They had one for transportation, which was fuel combustion from vehicle travels, cars, trucks, and buses. One for commercial, energy uses in business, schools, and hospitals, heating and cooling and lighting. Residential, energy uses in homes, heating, cooling, lighting, and appliances. Solid waste, emissions from landfills, waste decay, gas flaring. Agriculture, emissions from agricultural activities, fertilizer, machinery. Water and wastewater, treatment of potable water and wastewater, and treatment plant operations. And they had a lot of information, and basically, if we don't take any action, the emission rate is gonna go up to 9.3% by 2050. And greenhouse gas emissions by sectors, these shows the different sectors. And actually, Lehigh and Northampton County has the highest. They have 9,803,000 of CO2. Carbon County only has 1,318,000. Warren County has 1,599,000, and the greater Lehigh Valley has 12,721. And these are large numbers. And also, the temperature has gone up almost 3.5 degrees. And this is global CO2 compared to annual emissions, and this is information from 1750 to 2020, and it's went from 280 up to 400. So it's just an upward slope, and if we don't do something about it, we're destroying the whole planet. Pennsylvania is planning 25% reduction from 2005 levels by 2030, and 80% reduction from 205 levels by 2050. New Jersey is 50% reduction from 2021 and 80% reduction from 2021 by 2050. They had a lot of draft measures for all different things there, and basically we've just filtered a lot of information and we just have to fill it in. But the main thing was the temperature curve that's going up, the change in the environment, the amount of CO2, the amount of other gases, not just not CO2, but, and then the temperature rise. The average winter temperature has increased 3.9%. The average spring temperature has increased by 2.6%. The summer average temperature has increased by 1.9%, and the fall by 1.7%. So the annual rise in temperature is 2.5%, and that's a big number. And I mean, when you add that all up, that kind of spells an ecological disaster. And the climate change hazards are extreme heat, air pollution, increased precipitation and flooding, loss of native plants and animals, milder winters with less snow, like this year, disease spread by insects, Lyme disease, West Nile virus, wildfires, which we really know, it's been everywhere, and reduced crop yields. So it affects everybody. So we really need all to get on the bandwagon and reduce these levels. The answer, multiple facet. I mean, it's so many things to consider because it affects everything, from home to residential to manufacturing. And I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't know if we brought this up before, but there's a House bill It was brought up in the General Assembly of Pennsylvania on March 17th, and it was brought up by Representative Boner. And what struck me of real interest was of municipal waste, residential waste, or hazardous waste may not be located within 3 mile of the border of a municipality having a population density and at least 1,000 residents per 1 square mile. This section shall apply to landfills seeking a permit from the department to initial open, reopen, expand, and operations which have not finally be granted by the department and a court having final jurisdiction as an applicant. This is in the state right now, and I called Robert Friedman and told him I really want him on board with this, and he agreed with this. And Kathy called him as well. So I'm trying to get everybody to call because this really has a lot of.
What bill number is that?
It's Bill 935. And there's also a Bill 934. Yeah, so, and, I mean, this is really important because this would stop the dump in its tracks.
It might, I don't know if it's worth the conversation or not. If the EAC can write a letter to, it would be Lisa Buskell, I guess, and Bob Freeman for us.
But Bosco's basically non-responsive.
But we can still send a letter.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how the group feels about that. And I think,
Right.
isn't Malou McKenzie also
Yeah,
in our,
he's a representative, yeah.
thought so.
Well, yeah,
She-
well, invisible.
Is there a date for when there's gonna be a vote?
No, I want to call the one that brought it up and find out more information on it. I'll call and find out more information about that, because I think that's really important.
Right. Then we can discuss writing a brief letter.
Right. Of support.
Encouraging them to vote in favor of this.
Correct. Correct.
It's just a question. I
And,
guess.
and this, I'm attending the next workshop, which is on the 24th of this month. And I said I'd like to be a steady part of the group.
Great, that's awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for going to the meeting, Russ, and reporting this back. This is important information, and, I mean, I'm right now starting in my environmental geology class, my annual discussion of fossil fuels and then acid rain and anthropogenic climate change. And one of the things that often get pushed back and people say, well, this will cost money. The real costs of climate change will far outweigh
Oh, yes.
anything we would do to try to mitigate our emissions. I mean, there's just no question about it. Talk to an insurance actuary and you'll learn quite a bit rather fast.
Right.
Of their perceived and experienced costs associated with it.
And I don't know if you're aware or not, I'm actively involved with Lehigh with Dr. Bilal, who's my neighbor. One of his other professors is doing a project right now on the dump. And I'm helping them compile information, and they're doing a study of it and its impacts. And I think that's super important that the college got involved with it, and it's actually going to be like maybe a thesis for some of the students there. But that's actively in place.
Right, that's great news. What department are they in?
It's, I'm trying to think of her name.
I
Well, Bilal is part of the biology department, and I forget her name.
Yeah,
I'll
that's a little
find it.
tricky. There's two. So the biology department, as it were, bifurcated or split several years ago. In part went with, there's earth and environmental science,
Right.
which tends to be the ecological scale
Yes.
biologist, and then the other part of the biology department, more of, in simple terms, I guess I would say the microbiology group has stayed a biology department per
Right.
se. So what's the professor's last name?
Well, Bilal.
How do you spell that?
Huh?
That's his first name, right?
Khan.
K-A-H-N.
I'm sorry, his first name is Bilal, last name's Khan, K-H-A-N, sorry. I have his number if you need it.
Okay, I'll be able to find him on
Yeah.
the Lehigh website now
Yeah.
that I have a name.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for all of that.
Before we get off track, do you want to put, it's up to you, on the agenda for next month, House Bill 934 and House Bill 935? it's, again, it's a question, we don't have to, but.
Well, I mean, if we want to submit a letter, then we should put it on our agenda so we could discuss a draft letter.
I have that information.
And at that meeting, basically, I presented about landfill gases, how they mitigate through the ground, and it can come in through your foundations for miles. And the importance of that, and methane safety standards, movement of landfill gases into buildings, the health effects of ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, odors from the landfill, which we definitely know about. But there was so much stuff about reducing landfill gas in homes and mitigation of landfill gases. But the thing that I don't understand is they have that new plant there and they burn every 3 to 5 minutes. It looks like a napalm drop. They're burning the methane. That's not usable for their product.
Yeah.
And that's just, and I asked the engineer, I said, what exactly does, when you burn methane, do you get? I said, don't you get CO2, which is a greenhouse gas? And he didn't want to say that. And yes, that's the answer.
Yeah, it was just ironic. Yesterday, my wife and I were driving by when that flared up.
And it's huge.
Stops you for a second.
And she's noticed it more than me, and she said, boy, you should see it sometimes.
You see it at night.
You know, yeah, so if you would forward that information to me, if you have it as a PDF or online somehow, a link
Yeah,
to that landfill gas, I would love to see that.
yeah.
Okay, good.
Just as a thought, as a question, I guess, the wildfire risks, you know, my property's heavily wooded. I know most of us live in rural parts of this township. Where are we as a township with having preparedness? I mean, having wildfires up on the north slope of the Lehigh Valley last year was the first time I know that that's really happened.
We're not prepared.
And if anything like that were to spark up, do we have the emergency services or any?
I got ostracized for tearing down my dead ash trees, which were completely hollow. And I got raked through the coals, and my neighbors are attacking me about it. And I'm trying to put a solar system in my backyard.
Right.
But I took down like 13 dead trees, and they accused me of taking 60 down. And I have 2 acres, but I took it down, but all of them, some were gonna come down on my house. So they were a hazard all the way around, and they're a fire hazard on top of that, because they're all dried up and they're falling down literally, and somebody got killed on the rails to trails.
Yeah.
A tree came down and killed her. So, I mean, if you look anywhere there's woods, there's so much flammable material there. I mean, I think there should be a way to thin that out that could be used for something.
The township roads are very heavily lined with dead ash
Dead,
trees.
they're
Yeah.
dead, yep.
Including parks, the Kingston Park.
Yep.
So we had that park survey that came around recently, and that was one of the things that I'm familiar with, and there are multiple dead ash trees around the periphery. They've fallen on the outhouse there, they've fallen on the outhouse at the Lutz Franklin Schoolhouse. I mean, both of the outhouses, the new one that was constructed at Kingston Park had 2 trees, one took another one with it. And fortunately, that outhouse was, I guess, as we sometimes have heard the expression of a brick
Shit out.
outhouse. That one apparently is, because they did not get structural damage to that building. It was remarkable.
That tree is huge that fell on that.
I mean, that was remarkable. The old historic outhouse, on the other hand, did not do as well.
Yeah.
It's wrapped in plastic right now. But this is a pervasive issue for this township, that all of the roads are lined with dead ash trees, and they generally last less than 5 years, and they'll come down on their own. We took ours down. My neighbor took some of his a month ago. One fell on his car that he, for whatever reason, inexplicably had left up. So, yeah, if you have dead ash trees, you should move on them, because other dead trees will last. Oak will last longer, but ash trees, 5 years max. They're coming down on their own.
And it cost me $8,000 to do that, and I still haven't hauled half of them away. And I have a desist order that I can't do anything on my property. I can't haul them out.
Oh, so that's still ongoing, I didn't
Oh, it's
realize that.
ongoing, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
To answer your question though, Chad, Roger will tell you, you know, it's township money, you know, to take these trees down along the roads. Then you have township roads and you have PennDOT roads. PennDOT, I talk to PennDOT all the time for where I live, you know, they don't have any money, it's all time and money, you know?
Right.
Ty Johnson, who is the captain of the fire department, they have to have an emergency preparedness plan, you know? But the volume, just like on my part, just my property, but like coming up Countryside Lane, going to Washington, the volume of those trees,
It's unbelievable.
the other issue with respect to fire, the limits of fire suppression in this township are such that some of this township has hydrants, much of it does not. So they're limited to tanker truck volumes
Right.
to try to deal with wildfire. In a lot of places, that there is no public water supply.
That's true.
So their ability to fight a large fire is limited in large parts of the township.
I finally found that Lehigh University stuff.
I just don't know where we sit as the advisory committee on the environment in the township then, to say, look, there's maybe some best practices that we should start looking at to help mitigate the risk of this, especially when you can understand that things are changing and shifting, and whether it's maintaining our watersheds and the quality there, not just for drinking water purposes, but the biological network of that with the macroinvertebrates and all the other organisms and everything. And so I'm just not sure if maybe as far as wildfires specifically, then it seems like there's a risk of this happening and maybe increased risk in our township relative to some other communities because of how heavily wooded we are.
Yes,
And we are experiencing more frequent and prolonged droughts.
yes.
So that increases the fire hazard dramatically. So again, these are some of the costs of climate change that you need to factor in when thinking about this. So
When we discussed Swint with the concern of all the garbage that's there and the garbage that's built up, do you recall in the fall? Do you recall in the fall when we were discussing Swint? Give me a minute, do you remember?
The trash
The
on
trash.
on
The-
Alphabeta.
the garbage truck.
Swint, yes.
Yeah. So we were talking about Swin, we talked to the township at that time, and then and the reason why I bring it up, I'm not bringing it up out of the blue. Our responsibility here in the EAC is very limited. So like we brought it up, we addressed it, even if we were happy or not happy with the outcome of all the trash, Swin has a huge, you know, it's a dump, it's a lift, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, our responsibility was to bring up our concerns, but after that, we don't have that kind of power. So what I'm trying to say is, we all agree with you, and I understand exactly what you're saying, but we don't have the authority to say, we think you should, you know, thin out these dead trees because they're gonna be a fire hazard to Lower Saucon Township residents.
All we can do is make recommendations and what happens next. I mean, we were basically, now that my problem is my hearing is horrible. So when you were saying Swints, I was not picking up on that.
That's right.
But at any rate, when we did bring that issue up, we were basically dismissed as that's a zoning issue.
Right.
Not an EAC issue, even though there are environmental considerations of handling trash the way they do on a barren soil landscape.
Correct.
Any petrochemicals or liquids in any of the things that they're disassembling or dealing with are going to seep into the ground there. And they do try to cover up the fence line so that you can't see exactly what's going on in there. It is an amazing thing to me that land use activity is persisting the way it is.
Can't code enforcement do anything about that?
I don't-
They
It goes
can,
around and around.
round and around.
So,
But my point was, our power is very limited, you know?
What I'm looking to though is to make those recommendations then.
We
back
can
up
absolutely.
to
It's a good thing to
council.
bring up, like you bring it to light and maybe some recommendations, I think.
I know that the the volunteer fire company right now, and there's the funding issues around that, and requesting additional reimbursement perhaps, for calls. What if they have to go out and deal with a 10-acre forest fire? Are we
They do.
right, so.
They do, it's not uncommon. So that's one of the things, our fire companies do have special equipment that like other places wouldn't have because they don't have to go into the woods, so they have big forestry vehicles, yeah,
Okay.
that they specially
Well, there's also
have
a
set
firm
up.
at the county that they have like a forestry division
Mhm.
that's, I believe it's county, I don't believe it's state, but that's what they're set up for.
Okay.
So they're, I mean, they are equipped as good as they can be. I can say that just recently we did approve additional funding for the township to bring in outside tree cutting people because our township can only cut to so high because of their equipment that they have. So we approved extra funding so that they can bring in, hire as needed to do trees that are alongside the road. But a lot of them, like Kathy alluded to, if it's
State road.
if it's a state road, if it's anywhere near any sort of power lines, like then the utility companies have to be willing to do it, and they're, kind of stingy on what they're doing. Although, I mean, in years past, they did improve a whole lot, but I think that was before all the dead ash tree thing happened. So yeah, a lot of it's on utility companies to help out. So there's like all sorts of prongs of the problem, or
They do seem to be taking some action, the power companies do, but it doesn't strike me as it's being as systematic as I think it needs to be.
yeah.
And you make a good point, particularly with respect to the ash trees. They tend to be very tall trees, so I could see how
And we just
that-
can't,
that would-
we just can't
that
take,
would outdo township's capacity
right.
to deal with that. So once again, it's another simple subject that gets complex rather quickly when you look at the details.
Yes.
They have a new device out now. It's actually like a laser gun. You can actually cut the limbs off with a laser from the ground. It's amazing. I'd love to get one.
Yeah,
So to make this a win,
Make what?
to make this a win,
A win.
win-win,
Yes.
we can, as a EAC, make recommendations, we can state our concerns. You could also, I'm sure you could do some kind of looking for grants, I would imagine, or something. So, the question is how can we answer your question? How can we answer your concern, I guess?
I don't know. I'm just asking it.
I mean, it raises
Are
the
we
question,
ready
what
for-
we
are
could
we
do.
now?
One thing we could do to take an action, whether it's gonna have any effect, whether it's gonna effectuate change is another question. But we could put this on the agenda and make a recommendation that the township try to be aggressive in dealing with the dead ash trees in the public parks as a starting point and along the public trails
The rail trail?
and along the roadway, something along those lines. So
I'll make that motion.
I'm making notes here, things to put on the next agenda, which one item, of course, is gonna be.
Talking about the
Because you already had a death from it.
wildfire concern?
It all goes together, I
Wow.
think.
I mean, you can look at what other municipalities are doing, like Upper Saucon actually puts out red signs on certain like busy intersections where it says like burn ban in effect.
Right.
I don't know what they do to do that, but that might be something that's like helpful. I know like I already lit a fire not realizing, like we're a little close. I mean, I'm burning when it's dry, but just stuff like that. But I think it's helpful to present recommendations on things that you think could help mitigate the problem.
Right.
Instead of, that's, I think, kind of what I would understand the purpose of the committee would be, to say, hey, we realize this is a problem, maybe this is something to consider.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, this is a problem.
So things to think about is when we'll discuss this the next meeting with the idea of communicating to our concerns to council, and the Parks Committee as well. And our concerns will, we have to just think ahead. The concerns are multiple. There are the fundamental safety hazards associated with these trees falling, either in the parks or on a car driving down the road. These things are happening. And again, not to get into the details, but 2 months ago, one of my sons was driving down past the old SPCA on Lower Saucon Road, and a tree fell right in front of him. I mean, literally right in front of him, and he photographed that and so forth. He dilly-dallied at our house for 2 minutes while we talked about something, and that was one of his things. Damn, I'm pleased that I talked with you a little bit about things,
Right.
Dad, or I might not have been, it may not have happened right in front of me. So these are real hazards, and of course, the woman that unfortunately was killed on the rail to trail makes this less of a hypothetical scenario and a true hazard, plus the fire hazard, so there's multiple.
Because I had one miss me about 4 feet, a very large limb, it would kill me. And not only that, open burning in the township, they're still doing it, because in our neighborhood, they're still burning in the open. And the police car was right there, I said, isn't there a ban on burning right now? And he said, no. And I said, well, we have a drought. I said, why would you be opening burning in a field? Yeah, I think that's a problem. They shouldn't have open burning while we're still in the middle of a drought.
You can call and ask before you burn. That's what I do, if I have to burn.
No, they were just burning.
You ask and they'll tell you.
Is that the DCNR that you call?
No, the fire department,
Yeah,
actually.
the fire
I never knew
department.
that before either, but
Yeah, they'll tell
they
you.
do.
They'll say
Um,
yes, no.
They will like go out and watch over you or
But
be ready.
But I was just shocked when the police said, no, you can burn. And I said, it's a drought, I mean, everything is, especially in the mountain up there.
Yeah, the fire
So
company definitely posts a lot of when it's,
I think there's
like, don't.
justification.
So we'll
to
put
have
this on the agenda for the next meeting and
Yeah.
have a more organized conversation about it. We can all do a little bit of digging and thinking about this in the meanwhile. I think it's a good issue. No public comment. Township correspondence, we have the rather simple and straightforward Green property report, comparing two satellite images, basically saying, concluding no changes relevant to the terms and conditions of the conservation easement were observed via the comparison of the satellite imagery. Again, this is something that we'll have to discuss when we dig into the open space plan here and revisions of that. And that's something that is on the forefront of my mind, and something that we will get to this year, as we had indicated. And partnering with people is the other agenda item there, or other consideration, and getting annual assessments and reports. The other item that came our way as part of the minutes, rather extensive timber harvest plan from the Hellertown Borough Authority. It looks like they're following all the best practices. One thing that was, I think, pleasing for me to see was that there are existing skid trails and timber removal trails that they're going to try to follow as much as possible, and try to skid trails as best possible parallel to contour. Topographically, that's not going to be possible everywhere. In fact, in the one example that they present, you can see that there are a few skid trails that aren't going to be perfectly parallel to contour, but there just doesn't seem to be any other way to do it. But from my read-through of this, it appears to me that they're following best practices and have a plan, and are going to do this with as small impact as possible. So I don't know if anybody else had issues with this.
It's very much underway already anyway. It's been
right.
on Silver Creek Road and Polk Valley Road, they have entranceways.
Already have it set, yeah. So,
Very noticeable.
yeah.
Well, the other
And
side of the mountain, they did logging there, but they used machinery that was tracked and they weren't supposed to. They didn't use skid trails. And they didn't follow the rules. And I got them shut down for 1 day, but that was it.
Yeah, well, I think we've all seen a huge uptick in logging in the general area here, probably related to an individual logger, forester moving into the area, and I believe approaching landowners and recommending his services to them. It doesn't seem like a pure coincidence to me. There's, you know, it looks like cause and effect, at any rate. I know years ago, the township used to try to combat that, and then there was legal action taken. And I think that's the predicament that we find ourselves in. Yeah. We also received the PennDOT notice about section 01B of the bridge over the East Branch of Saucon Creek work. So there again, that was a for your information kind of communication from what I gathered.
I wanted to talk on that one though a little bit.
Please.
I saw the email about it a while ago, and then they were supposed to post that you could do public comment onto it as of April 1st. And it wasn't there the 1st or the 2nd, but it's out there now. So I would recommend maybe going out there and giving some comment. Part of what they need to do, so the bridge is on Lower Saucon Road. It's down by Easton Road, between Easton Road and Kings Mill Road, so it's right off there, that first block. So part of what they're doing in their project though is there's poor channel alignment that was created with, you know, how it's been for all those years. So that's created scour hole upstream and embankment erosion near the far abutment embankments, and there's scour holes downstream from the bridge and sediment deposits under the bridge. So the project is supposed to be repairing those existing scour hole and sediment deposit issues and realigning the creek on the upside stream to prevent future scour issues. So if you want to put any input regarding that, I want to give input. Supposedly this will be starting in spring of 2027, and it says completing in the fall of 2027, so that's really where I want to put input to make sure they have all their easements and things lined up with the utilities, because that was a big deal for whoever lives out our way. For the other bridge that they took out up the road a couple, you know, the bridge was out for like 3 years. We had a detour, so, you know, the detour, it's a 6-mile detour for cars, it's a 9-mile detour for trucks, so it's pretty big, and it impacts the fire services and police and everybody else that you might want to get to your house in a hurry. So I would recommend, just as a individual, to the link's in there, it's really long, to go in and give your public input. You have until April 30th.
I tried to type that link in, and I don't think it works very well.
I can, well, that's what I'm on my phone. I can send it to you.
They're replacing the entire bridge structure?
Yeah, well, it's not,
They're widening it maybe a little bit too?
I don't know if it's getting wider, but
It's so tight right in there.
yeah, well, we don't really need,
It depends. You may
the
not
bigger
have
it gets, the
choice.
bigger things that come up our road.
That's right. That's what happened by the
That
bridge
don't
by
belong
my
on the
home.
road.
PennDOT will tell you that, you know, they need to bring the bridge up to 2025 standards. And that was one of the big things that happened in front of my home. You don't have much choice. Because the bridge was an old, you know, waste, so, you know, and PennDOT said, you know, snowplows gotta get through, fire trucks gotta get through, dump trucks gotta get through, so it just takes, they take 6 feet, they take 3 and 3.
Yeah, well, it would seem like it makes sense to widen that a little bit if they're gonna be in there doing it.
It probably comes with it automatically, like the other thing got a little bit, you know, wider and straighter, the other bridge, so.
Should have,
Well, the guardrail there is destroyed.
Right.
Because it keeps getting hit.
yeah. The same way with the Freemansburg Bridge, they should have widened the one side so that people could turn on the right-hand side. All they had to do was put a little extra concrete there, and it would prevent a lot of congestion. They didn't do it.
We'll see if Freemasburg is ever open again anyhow.
Oh my God, it's a disaster.
Well, that's a
I didn't
problem
realize
too,
that they closed
right?
the other part of it down, so
Oh,
I
yeah, the
tried to
whole
get
thing.
through there,
Yeah.
coming back
The only
home,
way
and I
you can
got
come out
totally
is-
stuck somewhere up on the hill. I'm like,
You go up on the top of the hill and come down the back road, it's one way, it's very narrow.
yeah, but then it takes you back over to
takes you to
Mincy
the bridge.
Trail.
Yeah.
I had to come around the Mincy
You
Trail.
can't go across the bridge right now.
No,
So
the
you're
bridge
talking
is
about coming all the way
closed.
down, like,
Yeah,
whatever it's
they-
Market,
Right,
you can't do that
They
now,
got rid
because
of the
bridge is shut
detour-
down. So when
the
you get to that
detour.
top where you would turn left, you have to go right,
right.
and it spits you out over by like Yates Street.
You can turn, by the municipal building, go down there on Green Street, and go back Green Street, and then you can turn left at the very end, it's very narrow.
No, what I'm saying to you is, you can't go that way anymore. It's shut down before you get, like, when you get to the very
It
bottom
is
of that, you can't go, like, you can't go across
I
the
just
bridge at all.
sent
That
it
was
You
at
can't-
least a workaround, it doesn't exist.
For
Correct.
like 3 or
That's
4
the way that I
months.
was
It's at
Yeah.
the top
I
of my
just went
list
across the
somehow, I
bridge
don't know
today,
how.
and I went that way.
Oh.
Did you?
Oh, then they just opened it, but it was shut down. Like,
Oh.
you couldn't go that way anymore.
Yeah, it's been open for a while.
Okay.
Oh.
I
Oh,
was
it's
just
completely
there.
Green,
2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Green
Yeah.
Street, you go up Green Street all the way to the very end.
Yeah.
And the sign got mowed down, I don't know, but you can get down through there and you can go across the bridge.
Oh.
2 weeks ago, you couldn't, it was shut
Yeah.
down, like, so that's the way I was going, it's
Yeah.
come at, like, the very
Same.
last street
Yeah,
there.
because I just went today.
Yeah,
All
2
right.
weeks ago, it was
That
shut down,
must
so
have
you,
just
you
been done.
went all the way over, and then I was like,
you
tried to go left, you couldn't go, so
It's
you,
right, it's right near the
Yes,
hotel, so
exactly.
come down right
correct,
next to the
yes,
hotel.
that was actually shut down, so you had to go right and then
Right.
go all the way around.
Because
come out, but-
that's a one-way road, and I had a car come the other direction.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
which I
That's
was
good
supposed
to
to
know,
park there.
though.
Okay, so this brings us to the March 11th minutes. I'm sorry, I did not realize that Carol distributed them on Friday, so I did not review the minutes. I usually do. I don't know what others did, whether we feel confident that we should approve them as distributed, or whether we should table that conversation to the next meeting and take a look at them. I certainly would look at my language on those minutes between now and then, did anybody look at the minutes? I admit that I did not.
I did and have no comment,
Did you read them all, Chad?
just mine.
Just yours, okay. Yeah, that's what we had been doing. And I tend to, because of sitting at this end of the table, I tend to have much to say. And so I did not, I feel a little bit uncomfortable approving them. I would request we table them to next month, and I will look through and forward changes to Carol as I have to bring it to everyone's attention. And then we can not spend time the next month, but I'll spend time between now and then.
Yeah.
Okay? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then just so you're aware, when Carol sends me the first notification of the next meeting and the agenda, 3 things that I have taken note of here to make sure that we get on there includes the conversation about trees and safety and fire and all the issues associated with it. MS4, to note that we will have a speaker. Paige will be here to talk about MS4 to us. And then also bills 934 and 935.
Right.
Okay.
Can we make sure that Paige is first?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we've learned that,
And I'll have a report from the planning commission again.
okay, good, good.